we get to have a temporary break from playing Donkey Kong, where we can instead play Donkey Kong Jr., which released on August 2nd of 1982. This is the second proper game in the franchise, and a direct sequel that is a follow-up to the plot of the first game. It seems that Mini Donkey Kong from the Game & Watch game has returned as the protagonist of his own game now. I mentioned in the first video of this series that Donkey Kong is a bizarre first entry if you look at the direction that both the Mario and Donkey Kong series went, but Donkey Kong Jr. is an even weirder follow-up. When compared to the first game, the hero has become the villain has become the damsel, and the damsel was removed in place of a new hero. I can't even think of another game series where the hero of one game becomes the villain in the next. It's super weird that Mario, out of any character, ends up having that as the beginning of his history. There's also the fact that Junior pretty much completely vanishes once the Donkey Kong series gets revived with Country, though I suppose I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. The logo here actually ended up being changed in the US version. Just like the first game, both the US and Japan had different primary art to show off the game. The Japan art actually has a weird offshoot that has a girl sitting on top of the logo, who I'd presume is Lady from the first game, despite her absence in this one. The Japanese promotional stuff once again doesn't really delve deep into the plot, though it's much less necessary this time since the game itself shows it more overtly. The US promotional stuff explains that this is a direct sequel to the events of the original Donkey Kong. Once Mario saved the girl, he locked Donkey Kong up to stop him from going on another rampage, but unfortunately he had a son who's come to save his papa. Mario sends waves of animals, mechanical jaws, and living balls of energy at Junior, who he fights back with fruit bombs. This game is also pretty clear that once Donkey Kong is freed, he's just going to go back to kidnapping girls again, with Junior following behind him. I think this pretty much confirms that the Game & Watch game is separate events from the arcade game, where Donkey Kong kidnaps the girl again, and explains why Junior makes an appearance as Mini Donkey Kong. This art showing off instructions for the game is absolutely baffling to me because of the Snapjaw sprites, which make them look like weird frogs. So the game begins with a cutscene of two Marios, who I guess Mario has a twin brother or something, considering this guy looks exactly the same as him, kidnap Donkey Kong, and Donkey Kong Jr. begins his quest to bring back his papa. So the first level seems to be in a jungle of some sort, and it introduces the main mechanic of this game, which is climbing vines and using fruit, which the manual calls fruit bombs, to fall down on the enemies. I think this gameplay is a little bit less intuitive than the original Donkey Kong, but I feel like if you got into this game a lot, it would be pretty fun. The enemy that appears in this level the most is the Snapjaws, which have a red and blue variety, and pretty much all the artwork seems to imply that they're mechanical. Both operate a little bit differently, with blues falling straight off the vine while the reds go back up, but they're not really that much different. Next is the Jumpboard scene, which has this little spring that you could actually use to jump up to that platform here to skip part of the stage. I'll show it off later in the video. The enemies above, which are the birds, are nitpickers, which fly in a pretty similar pattern and occasionally drop eggs, though I don't know how often you end up actually getting hit by those. If Junior's holding just one vine, he climbs up much slower than if he's holding two. So if you're holding onto both, you'll go up much quicker, though sometimes it's less good to have that since your hitbox is bigger and enemies are more likely to hit you. After reaching Mario in these first two stages, he goes off in his personal helicopter to his hideout, since Mario has become a full supervillain at this point. So his hideout is full of these enemies called Sparks, which there's two kinds. Red ones which just circle around the same platform, while blue ones will move between those little dots that are in between some of the platforms. If you're hanging onto the vines on the side, there's actually no way to die, unless you're reaching out towards the direction that the sparks show up in. I have no idea why Mario has a secret hideout, and this is never shown anywhere else in the franchise. It's a bit odd for a regular carpenter guy. The final level, the chain scene, is pretty different from the gameplay of all the other ones. You basically just have to push these keys up to the top while you're avoiding Snapjaws again and a new bird enemy which is just called a bird. There's no actual platforming in this one, it's just avoiding all the enemies while you climb up the vines. Something to note is that once again, the US version of the game changes the level order compared to the Japanese version. On the Japanese version, it's just 1, 2, 3, 4. This time, it's 1, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So it takes 4 whole loops to actually get all the levels in, which compared to the 3 which it took in the US version. I'd recommend doing the chains on the left and right first, since birds can change the direction a lot quicker, while in the middle, you have way more control of actually moving, because you could just be connected to 2 vines. So once you save Donkey Kong, he kicks Mario back and he runs away, and hopefully we'll never see that guy ever again. So in the second loop, the game gets harder again, and unfortunately, I'm pretty bad at this game, so I don't even get past this first stage. There's no real big changes for the rest of the game. Once again, no new mechanics whenever you get through future loops, but I do wish I could have shown off a little bit more, even if it wouldn't have really included all that much. Once again, the 2-player mode is pretty much the exact same as it is in the original Donkey Kong, it just alternates between levels per each. Once again, showing off the jingle that plays whenever your time bonus is going down. Here's how using the trampoline to get a shortcut in this level works. And you could actually walk straight up to Mario's face in this version. It doesn't push you back like trying to walk up to Donkey Kong does in the original Donkey Kong. And that's all for this one. Next time we're going to show off the worst game so far, which is the Donkey Kong LCD Coleco port.